And so what's going to happen is in a moment we are going to be hearing a story about a farmer planting some seeds for harvest. It's going to be our job to think about how this story can relate to our own lives here in high school. And I'm going to listen to the story, try to get in a reflective mindset, and really think about how this story can impact us. So Farmer John woke up one morning. He looked out the window and he saw that it was a perfect day to go and plant his field for harvest. As he walked out of his house, he walked into a barn, opened the doors, and sitting in there was a nice, beautiful 1964 tractor. He then fired it up, and nice black smoke came out of the exhaust. He hooked up his corn planter, and as he went chugging along, he looked back and realized that something was very wrong with his corn planter, because this corn planter was dropping seeds along the path. Farmer John realized that, whoa, something is very wrong. So he hopped out of his handy-dandy tractor, grabbed his toolkit, and walked to the back of his planter. As he looked underneath, he saw that a bolt was loose. So he climbed on under there, tightened that bolt right up. But when he tightened that bolt, some of the seeds fell from the planter into the ditch that had been overcome by weeds. After Farmer John tightened that bolt, he then hopped back into his tractor and began going again. He finally reached the field, and this field had been freshly tilled and fertilized by his farm hands earlier that morning. The sun was shining, and it could not have been a more beautiful day. So Farmer John took his planter and began planting his corn seeds in his field. So after several months passed, Farmer John finally decided that it was time to go out and check his corn seeds for harvest. As he walked out into his farmland, he looked at the seeds that had been planted along the path. He saw that they had been stepped on by other farm workers, washed away by the rain, blown away by the wind, and that they never really started to grow. They never really got their jump start, and they just never really got their chance. Taking a deep sigh, he then walked out and took a look at the seeds that were planted in the ditch. As he looked at those, he saw that these seeds had started to grow, but the corn plant had only grown to about this tall, which is not very tall for a corn plant. He realized that the seeds were quickly taken over and choked out by the other weeds, and they never really reached their full potential. Taking another sigh, he then walked over to his field. As he looked upon his field, he saw that the field grew a bountiful corn crop. I mean, these cornfields were sky high with beautiful golden bushels of corn on them. He could not believe how beautiful this corn crop was. He took a second to think about this and realized that that corn crop grew to be successful because it received adequate care from his farm hands, amazing sunlight, and had enough nutrients in the soil to provide it with all it needed to grow. Let's hear from a couple people about our perspectives from our story. How can this story relate to us back in high school? Yeah, go for it.
The corn is kind of like us and as a people, and like all these things like the path and the ditch are the things that get in our way of reaching our full potential as cool corn.
Yeah, awesome. What are some obstacles that we might face along our path to success?
Like toxic people, bad decisions, personal issues, like there's a bunch of things depending on the situation.
Thank you for sharing that perspective. Do we have any other perspectives about the story?
I took it as like, it's kind of like, so, and like whatever you do, relationships or your schoolwork, if you put in the effort, then you, and like do all the things required, you're going to see a better outcome, a better growth. Like in this case, it was like in the field, when he was putting in all the work by hand, he saw it prosper. So in real life, if you're putting work in your relationships or schoolwork, you're going to get better grades, you're going to have better relationships.
Yeah, awesome. What was your name?
Alyssa.
Alyssa, thanks Alyssa for sharing that cool perspective. So just as Alyssa said, if we put the work into what we want to achieve, then oftentimes we'll find that growth and success and that little rainbow over the hill afterwards.